Hey YouTube, you have made your way to Mind Your Mind with Just Justified. So, as you have seen on the thumbnail, we have a very interesting topic. So, imagine standing in a crowd and someone grabs their chest and falls to the ground. But everyone in the crowd just goes about their business as if nothing happened. Some people may even take their phone out and start recording. What you just heard about is something called the bystander effect. So, here is what the bystander effect is. It occurs when the presence of others discourages an individual from intervening in an emergency situation against a bully or during an assault or other crime. So, a perfect example of this bystander effect is the Kitty Genovese case. This is her, Kitty Genovese. So, in March 13, 1964, at 3 a.m. in the borough of Queens in New York, Kitty Genovese was approached by a man named William Mosley. So she was walking basically, and he ran after her. He ended up piercing her several times, and Kitty screamed for help, basically, and a neighbor yelled out of their window, "Leave her alone." So that's when William Mosley ran off. So Kitty Genovese, who was pierced, ended up continuing to her house, and she laid in front of a door in the back of her apartment building. Now, William Mosley ended up coming back and finding her laying at the door, and he ended up piercing her some more times and stealing some of her valuables. Then he ran off. So Kitty Genovese, was pierced over a dozen times in about a 30-minute radius time period. 30 minutes. So about this case, though, is that multiple calls were made to the police, but it came in after her passing away on the way to the hospital. So there were 38 witnesses to this crime. 5 ended up testifying at the trial. So what I saw with this is that there were so many people. If there were 38 witnesses of this crime, why didn't anyone intervene sooner? Why were calls made with her on the way to the hospital where she already passed away? You know, it makes me wonder, you know, did everyone see how vicious it was and didn't want to intervene, for the possibility that they will get hurt? It's so many possible reasons. So, with the bystander effect, larger groups of people are less likely to help. As we saw, there were 38 witnesses. And there is an assumption that someone else may take care of it. So if it's a whole lot in a crowd and something happens, that may be the assumption that, okay, someone else will take care of it. I don't have to deal with it. Hands off, move along, keep going. And, that's where the issue may lie. So here is a more current situation when it comes to the bystander effect. Let's look at this social experiment.
Repeated as explosions broke in the sky. All that I needed was the one thing I couldn't find, and you were there at the turn, waiting to let me know.
So what was so disheartening about this social experiment was that if you looked, how many people passed him while he took that child up and ran? There was, I think, in that video, just one lady that responded, that saw him take this child into that dark alleyway and went after. So what was in the mind of all the other people that were passing by, that just like, they noticed, you see in it that they noticed that this is odd. Why is he grabbing a child and running and all of that? Like, they're looking, they're kind of weird, like looking back and everything. And only one woman in that social experiment moved to see what was going on, and actually look at her as very courageous, because she doesn't know what was in that alleyway. Who knows what could have happened with her going after, but what she knew was something wasn't right, and she went in. So sometimes when we think about the bystander effect, sometimes I think about even like empathy. Is that something that we can discuss when it comes to bystander effect? If you experience higher empathy, is that why you may be compelled to move? Because they usually say like there was another social experiment with smoke, and they said those in the smaller room, the room with less people, when they smelled the smoke, they alerted the people. But as the groups got larger and larger, you can visibly see from the experiment that they are, they noticed the smoke, but they did not react to it. Why is it that we do not react in a larger group? Are we looking at everybody else and probably saying like, okay, well, if they're not doing anything, maybe it's nothing wrong with it? But then that's like a complacency situation and normalizing how it is just because everyone else is not reacting. And imagine how many situations in life we kind of respond like that. Like, how many times someone did something and we let it go because no one else says anything about it, nobody is giving any pushback. So you're like, okay, well, no one else have a problem with it, then okay. And then that's where a lot of wrongdoing can come into the picture. Because like now in our current media, we're seeing a lot of situations happening with Diddy, the hip hop mogul, who is facing a lot of backlash and a lot of lawsuits and investigations and things like that. Now, I can't help but consider, especially in the topic that we're talking about now, all the people that witness a level of um his discretions. Like, you have people coming out now, like his bodyguard, other celebrities, other witnesses, everything. Now, where were these bodyguards and others when this was happening? We waited until one courageous person said something, even amid being with that courage, the backlash of being judged and being victim blamed and whatever else. And amongst that, then you see people trickling in. Yeah, I saw this. Oh, like the best friend, one of the friends of the victim had, witnessed another person being dangled over a balcony by Diddy. Those things you have to wonder about. Like, why didn't anyone have the courage to say something with all of it going on? It took one courageous person. So, I feel like sometimes we have to fight for the right of things, even through the worry of retaliation. Because I'm sure that was probably what kept a lot of them back from saying something. The fear of retaliation, that something may happen to them if they say something. He's going to go after them, maybe do something. Who knows? He has the money, he has the power. You've seen how many people have been paid off and all that through this whole situation. So, I understand that that is a concern when you do think of standing up, but sometimes you have to consider standing up for the right, because maybe that is where our community is, a society is going, why there's so much inhumanity and so much hatred and ill doing and all of that. To kind of get to a better place, we have to condemn the wrong, you know, even if we're standing alone sometimes. So, with that being said, I do have an awesome TED Talk. I'm not sure who this lady is, but I did stumble upon it and I really appreciated what she had to say. So let's look at this TED Talk and see what she has to say.
Bystanders are not just those who witness and don't intervene. Bystanders include those who are told and don't intervene, and those who heard it through the grapevine and don't intervene. In this day and age of empowerment, why? Why do we give away our power? When we allow others to make decisions for us, we give away our power. When we defer to others to take action, we give away our power.
So she's basically saying that even if not only if you witness things, but also if you heard about it through the grapevine, and then don't do anything about it. So she's saying that that's giving away our power. We have so much information, so much at our fingertips nowadays, and we let things go. We'll see people bullying people taking advantage of people, and we'll witness it and we'll say nothing. And then the only time we want to say something is when it's done to us. when we can stop people like that in their tracks from the get. So I just think the bystander effect is quite interesting. I think somewhere in there she also talks about like normalization equals acceptance. So if we normalize people being deceitful, people taking advantage of people, then we're accepting that type of behavior. And even where with our silence equals complacency. So there are some things that we cannot be silent about. So as we go along, that is something to think about when it comes to having a voice. So we have come to the end of this video. So it's now time for the mindful moment. So the mindful moment question for today is, was there ever a time that you passed up helping anyone with the assumption that someone else can do it? I repeat, was there ever a time that you passed up helping anyone with the assumption that someone else can do it? I mean, as I continue, I can say there are times where I can even think about just being reflective, where you're on the road and you pass somebody who probably needs a tire change. Now, of course, the fear of retaliation is a concern, as in to say you never know what can happen to you if you stop to help this person. So I understand that in a sense too. But there are other situations where we're like quick to take out a phone, quick to just look, quick to observe, to look through our window, and instead of taking action. So let's consider that as we go forward and be more intentional. So I want to hear from you. Please give me a comment about this subject. What did you think about the bystander effect? All right. So I will see you in the next one.